Hey gang, I'm here. I was wearing a hat today. I have such a big head. I say that lovingly. It's a big brain in there. I have like a hat mark on me. Anyway, hi. Sunday scaries, do you get them? I get them a little bit. I get them. I have a big Monday coming. So anyway, I thought I'd check in, say hi. I went to that party last night. I was going to wear, this one outfit. We planned God Laughs. It was so cold that I had to. Hi, Heather. It was so cold that I actually got to wear this like long sleeve dress. It was amazing. I had so much fun. And I ended up talking to this man at the party last night. Because you know what happens when people find out you wrote Breaking Up with Sugar at a party. Got to talk about breaking up with sugar. It was a pleasure, though. He's like, how do you do it? I was thinking about the post today about feeling really nervous about writing your breakup letter. I want to tell you a quick story about that. It's really important. It really resonated with me, that post. So when we were I have so much sand on my feet. I just came from the beach. So when I was writing Breaking Up with Sugar, I had 8 people reading it with me. And one of the women who was reading it with me had about 6 or 7 months, just like the post was talking about today. And the writing in it was much more intense than it was as published. So it was very this is your breakup letter. And this woman got so mad at me. She's like, what are you talking about? That it's a permanent breakup letter. She was infuriated. Usually people would just write their notes in the column of the drafts, the 8 people. She was she wrote me this thing. I was like, hey, why don't we get on the phone? So anyway, we had this phone call about it. And she was just so upset with me, which I flippin' love because it really changed me. She's like, Molly, you talk so much about the relationship part of this. And just because you're writing a breakup letter doesn't mean, he might knock on the door and you might let him in, her, they, whatever, you might let him in. And that doesn't mean that your attention is not in the breakup letter. And I was like, yes, Gail, agreed. So we softened up the language a lot in that to be consistent with what I actually really believe about relationships and about your relationship with food and about your relationship with sugar. And my thought too about it was when I was reading the post about, gosh, I'm so nervous to write this breakup letter. It feels so permanent. My first thought was ain't addiction a thing? Because it really, really tells us to not expand. It really tells us to stay. So don't write that letter. Don't write that letter. It's a letter. It's a letter, and it's an offering. It's a letter. It's an offering. It's an intention. It's saying to your soul, and it's saying to the universe, and it's saying to your diet, drama, and trauma, hey, I'm serious about this. Because the truth is it ends up pretty imperfect. It ends up pretty imperfect. 95% perfect, 5% imperfect, whatever. It's just never going to be perfect. And it's the perfectionism. It's such an interesting thing, right? It's I don't know if you read Love Letter last week, but it's perfectionism is such a thief and a terrorist because it's the perfectionism that won't let us write that letter. I don't know. Did you take vows when you got married? You don't do those perfectly, but when you don't do them perfectly, what today's love letter says, when you don't do those vows perfectly, you look into it, you get curious, you get compassionate, you make a plan to try to do it better the next time. That letter is the same exact thing. And let me tell you something, that letter is really powerful to so many. And so it's just an interesting thing, right? It's I don't know if I'm really ready to do it. It's okay, so then you'll learn that. What do we care? Just keep it moving. Don't let perfectionism chokehold you. This is for every part of your life, by the way. Every part of my life. I'm nodding. I'm yes, I agree. There's so many parts of my life I'm going to go watch this when I'm done. Which, by the way, are you coming to coaching with Molly on Monday? It's a funny thing about me. I don't, if you know me at all, someone will say, God, I really loved what you said on that Facebook Live. And I'm like, I have no idea what I said on that Facebook Live. If like I've been in session, people are like, can you repeat what you said? I'm like, I have no idea what I said. Sometimes things just sort of like channel right through me. And it happens on Coaching with Molly, like so much. So anyway, if you can't come, you still get a replay. I always watch the replay because I'm talking and I don't know what I'm saying. And sometimes that's really good stuff for my own life. So anyway, smash cut. Back to my party last night. To watch that, so think about that, it's like, what's the harm in writing the letter? You gotta have a bigger wagon, like I treated this lady once, God, I loved her. And she's like, Molly, I keep on falling off the wagon. And I'm like, listen, we got to make your wagon bigger because it's way too easy to fall off of it. Right. I think there has to be this conscious idea that you're not going to let yourself down. And yet you're going to do this imperfectly, because this week's podcast, I think, talks a lot about this. I talked to this Dr. Will Cole, and he's like, yeah, like the only way you really get food freedom is to be pretty scientific about it and to sort of be willing to experiment. And part of, finding freedom from food, part of breaking up with sugar is experimenting and seeing like, oh yeah, this works. Oh, I'm going to push through. Oh, what will happen if I have this feeling? Like, I don't know. It's the only way to do it. Otherwise, we're just trapped in perfectionism, and that's not good for anybody. So yeah, the guy was like, so you just don't eat any sugar? And I was like, not really. He's like, how do you do it? I was like, well, I mean, I don't do it. And I said, the truth is, I just wanted to share this with you because he was asking me sort of about like my origin story. And I was telling him a little bit about it. And I said, but the truth is, it's not really the negative parts, like the bottoming out, like the getting caught throwing up at my office and the gaining weight hand over fist, the emotions of it was hard. I said, I don't think that would have been enough. I said, and it's very much like Ronnie's post today. I said, the real truth of it is I haven't done it for 12 years, imperfectly. I haven't eaten sugar and flour for 12 years. I said, because my life is so good as a function of it. I said, I have a real neutrality because we were at this this fancy, gorgeous dinner. And so there was all these desserts at the end. And he said, you just don't want them? I said, I don't. I'm pretty neutral about it. I haven't had it for a long time, so my brain is just not oriented to thinking that that's something that it has. I said, and I very into summer watermelon. And I said, my life is too good. My life is too sweet. As Kirsten said on the podcast, said, my life's too sweet. It just doesn't appeal to me at this point. And when it does appeal to me, you guys, usually there's something very emotional going on with me, and I want to share that with you too. So anyway, that's what I wanted to tell you. It's going to be okay. Sundays are scary. It's a lot to do. I'm going to get my week. I'm going to spend a little bit of time tonight getting my week organized because I have like a pretty intense week. But I get to see so many of you guys tomorrow and Coaching with Molly, 8 p.m. Bring your questions, bring your thoughts, bring your questions. Like, I love it. And you know me. If there, we got more to do, we're going to go over an hour. You know how I do it. And, know I love you deeply. I'm so grateful for everybody here. If you want to see pictures from the party, they're on Instagram. They're on my Instagram stories with my best friend, Lauren. She's such a wonderful person. I'm just so lucky. Anyway, feeling blessed. I can feel lots of things. I'm feeling very nervous for my week, feeling very blessed, feeling very grateful. They all just coexist together. So anyway, I love you. If someone hasn't told you that they love you today, I do. Check out the love letter today. It's all about the 3 C's: compassion, curiosity, corrective action plan. Love that. Leave me some comments. Let's talk about some things. Always love to get comments on my posts. Makes me think and makes me write, makes me do things that are helpful, makes me be able to give you guys feedback in real time. And, just know I love you deeply, deeply, deeply. Mwah. Bye, guys.